So let's talk alternative options, some of which I've already covered. And there could be even more to this list. So if you think of an example that's not on here, you put it in the chat. So some options to salary, if they say, oh, there is no room for negotiation, sorry, this is the max we can offer. You can ask about health insurance. Sometimes they don't let you get it until like 90 days in or a month in. So you could ask about if they would be willing to compensate you for private health insurance or if there's any way to get it earlier. You could ask about PTO, if there's any ways to get extra days, if there's ways to get your days earlier than when you've worked that amount of time, if you have a vacation coming up. Retirement savings plan plus employer matching. This one, it kind of does depend on company policy. They're not always willing to budge, but if you're at a startup or one that they're kind of still laying down their governance policies, you could maybe get a little bit of, hey, can you match it earlier? Could we match it to this percentage? And with that too, some companies, it's really good to know when they're going to match because most you would assume it's after 6 months, after a year maybe, but I worked somewhere that it was 2 years, which is insane. And they knew that people weren't going to stay that long. So make sure you know that information because it can be kind of dicey. Flexible work schedule. So that could be either not working the typical 9 to 5, maybe you work 8 to 4. Maybe you do extra days on Tuesdays, you don't work Fridays. Or that could be remote work options. So just depending on what your situation is, especially if you're a parent or you have something that requires you in the morning or sometime during the day, that's a good thing to ask for. Stipends for home office is also excellent. You can get some money for like a desk, a new monitor, all of that good stuff. Employee discounts, sometimes they have those at local places near the office, something that you may be able to benefit from. Paid parental leave. You could ask about those policies and see what that includes. Like I said, that's one of the ones like retirement where it's kind of dicey depending on their policy, but you can always ask. Additional vacation days or paid time off or a travel stipend or moving stipend. So if they expect you to move, usually they're going to say, hey, we'll pay for the moving truck, we'll pay for whatever this packing costs. So those are things that you can ask for instead of money. Coin world map. Little world map with some coins just in case. Tuition reimbursement, sign-on bonus, performance review after 6 months instead of 1 year. Those are excellent. I definitely see a lot of tuition reimbursement or education stipends. So that's excellent if you're like, I'm trying to get this PMP, I'm trying to get a certification. And the performance review after 6 months can be interesting, especially if you start at a time where technically your 6 months would land at the end of year because you started halfway through the year. That could be considered for your like, let me be eligible for a salary increase moment. So those are excellent.